One new student finds himself in an elite school where power belongs to those with a big name and quiet threats. He doesn't fight, doesn't shout, doesn't take revenge. He watches, remembers, and waits. When others are silent, he begins to speak, and his words turn into weapons. This is a story about how one voice can break the silence that people have been afraid to break for years. Don't forget to subscribe and like so you don't miss new stories. Are you sure you want to go there? Mom's voice was reserved, but her eyes showed that she didn't believe it was a good idea. I don't want to, but I have to, Julian replied, adjusting the collar of the only new shirt he had bought especially for this day. They're all different there, she said more quietly. Rich, impudent. Great. I'll be a contrast. They like exotic things. She frowned but didn't argue. She simply kissed his forehead and opened the door. Julian stepped inside the building, which looked like a museum, marble, glass, light fixtures, like something out of a Hollywood movie about geniuses and millionaires. Above the entrance was the Arcadia Hills Academy logo and a Latin motto, Veritas Supra Omnia, truth above all. Sounded good, he thought, until you were razed to the ground in front of everyone. Newbie? Came from the side. You don't seem to be from around here. The guy was half a head taller, wearing an impeccable jacket, with well-groomed hair and a look that already conveyed superiority. And who are you? Me? Evan Turner. People know me around here. In a good way, until you step on the wrong tie. I don't wear ties. So you've got problems right from the start. Welcome, newbie. Evan moved on, leaving behind the scent of expensive perfume and the first needle that had been injected. Julian didn't answer. He just chuckled, quietly, almost imperceptibly. Last name? Asked the woman at the reception. Brooks. Julian Brooks. A scholarship, huh? She looked up. Hold on tight, dear. We got sharks here, and you're in a supermarket suit. Thank you for the warm welcome. Don't worry about it. I'm just tired. Your class is 10B, room 214, and good luck. He walked up the stairs. With every step he took, he felt the gazes. They weren't angry, but rather curious, as if he wasn't a person, but a social experiment. There was silence in the classroom as he entered. The teacher turned around. And here's our new guy, Julian Brooks, from St. Patrick's High, right? That's right, he nodded. Sit down. Over there, next to Miss Wells. The girl with brown hair and serious eyes nodded at him, slightly reservedly, but without mockery. Not bad already. Hello, he said, sitting down. Hi. Have you met Evan yet? Yeah. He said I don't wear ties. Apparently that's a crime. In his universe, yes. And you? Do you wear ties? Only if I'm being blackmailed. He chuckled. So, we have a chance to become friends. She looked at him a little more closely. You're different. It's dangerous here. I know. But I didn't come here to be like everyone else. During the break, he went out into the yard. It was like a movie, expensive backpacks, laughter that sounded too loud, and conversations about things he had never tried. Yachts, investment courses, trendy clubs in Europe. So, how was your first day in paradise? Evan was there again. I'm holding on for now. The oxygen isn't poisoned. It's temporary. We have our own climate here. You breathe too calmly. You know, when the water is too quiet, it means there is depth somewhere underneath. Evan narrowed his eyes. Then he grinned. Oh, you have teeth. Let's see how long you can hold out with this philosophy. And you have a habit of growling first, to hide your fear? Evan didn't answer, but something flickered in his gaze. The history lesson passed quietly. As the teacher talked about the rise and fall of empires, Julian caught glances. One in particular, from behind, cold, sharp. Evan wasn't looking at the board. He was looking at him. When the bell rang, there was already a note on his desk. You better not pull strings you can't see. He folded it and put it in his pocket. It wasn't the first time he'd been threatened. It was just that the threats sounded different here. Polished. After class, Sienna approached him near the lockers. You held your own. You too. Aren't you afraid? I've already been where it's scarier. Say it to Evan's face. Why? Let him be afraid of silence. She looked at him carefully. There was no pity in her eyes, only interest. Listen, if you want, we have a literary club tomorrow. It doesn't matter who has what watch. They read there. It sounded like a life preserver. Rather a door. But you must open it yourself. He nodded. I'll come. See you then. And be careful. Evan smiles when someone starts to stand out too much. I don't stand out. I just don't hide. He was sitting at home that evening at the table, his mother cooking pasta, and the words, "You're too calm," were spinning in his head. He knew there were wolves here, but he wasn't going to be a sheep. He was just a different kind of predator. Quiet, observing, precisely aiming. He took out a notebook and wrote down, "The game has begun. Only I'm not playing. I'm building." Tomorrow would be a new day. And he knew, a few more moves and Evan would understand that this newcomer is not so simple. Because he has nothing, except will. And sometimes, this is the most dangerous weapon. Have you ever considered that if you're too quiet, it starts to get annoying? Evan's voice came from right behind him as Julian threw his books into the locker. And if you talk too much, it starts to get tiresome, Julian responded calmly, without turning around. My school? My rules. Your school? Did they change the name on the facade? Silence. A barely perceptible tension. Someone from the passers-by held their breath. You're too smart for your position, Brooks, Evan said, leaning closer. And that's dangerous. I'm just a good listener, and you're too loud not to be heard. Evan backed away, but his eyes narrowed slightly. His smile was a blade. Julian knew he had hurt him. Now he would wait for him to make a move. In literature class, the teacher read a passage from Lord of the Flies and suggested a discussion of power and fear. Julian's hand went up first. Power is not based on force, but on the silence of those who agree. An interesting thought, she said. Does anyone want to object? Evan stretched out in his chair. Or maybe silence is also a form of fear. Uncertainty hidden behind philosophy. Julian turned to face him. Perhaps. Or maybe silence is observation. Preparation. Precision. So, you are a strategist? No. I just know how to wait. Pause. The class was silent. Some looked at Evan, some at Julian. The balance tipped. After class, Sienna caught up with him at the library. You know, you speak dangerously beautifully. Dangerously? Because with such words you are either a prophet or an enemy. And who do you see me as? For now, it's an opportunity. They both chuckled. Why are you even talking to me? He asked. Because you're not like the others, and you're not trying to be. What if I'm just stubborn? Then I respect stubbornness. She opened the door for him. Literary club, as promised. Inside it was quiet, cozy, and smelled of coffee. Several students were sitting with books. Some were discussing something about Dostoevsky. Some were arguing about the poems of Sylvia Plath. Join us if you want. Words are currency here, not clothes. Julian smiled. It was the first place in school where no one looked at him as a failure of the system. It's nice to be where the voice matters. The essence is important here, not the packaging. The next day, a new game began. In the dining room, his tray was upside down. Food was on the floor. Everyone froze. Julian picked up the tray, collected the remains, and calmly went to throw them away. Not a word. You're not even angry? Asked one of the younger ones, clearly shocked. You don't get angry at the wind, You just remember it. Word spread quickly. Some began to look at Julian with respect, some with apprehension. Sienna caught up with him after class. Do you understand what you're doing? I understand. I'm not playing. I just don't back down. Evan is not used to this. That's good. Habit makes him weak. And you? And I'm used to being the one who is not expected. It makes me free. That same evening, he found a note in his backpack. You may be silent, but the walls are already listening, and soon the wave will cover you. He unfolded the paper, crumpled it, and threw it away. The next day, there was a piece of paper on his desk with the following words printed on it. We know where you come from. We know who you were. You won't change the rules. He turned. Evan was sitting 2 rows back. A slight nod, a smile, a demonstration. After the lesson, Julian approached him. Do you want me to leave? No. I want you to remember your place. What if I don't fit in it? Then it will hurt you. Better pain than emptiness. Are you a hero? No. I'm just a man who is tired of looking down. Evan stood up, a head taller. All the confidence was on his face, but his eyes trembled. Then, Brooks, welcome to hell. I was born in it. You just play here. They parted, and from that moment on, the school seemed to freeze in anticipation. Julian didn't know how long his war would last, but he knew for sure he was no longer alone. He had words, and now he began to use them. Precisely, with coldness, with self-respect, and with the understanding that silence can be louder than screaming. I don't know why you put up with this, said Jake, a tall guy with perpetually tousled hair, one of the silent ones in the back row. You could just freeze. And be like them? Julian exhaled, throwing his bag over his shoulder. Not interesting. You're either a saint or a psycho. Or maybe I just know how to wait. They were standing at the back door after school. There was a feeling of something approaching in the air like before a thunderstorm. Jake crumpled up the candy bar wrapper, threw it in the trash, and suddenly asked, Listen, would you go against him in a big way? Against Evan? Well, yeah. You're already on his blacklist. Why not play chess? Because he plays checkers, Julian chuckled. And while he's jumping over the pieces, I'm building combinations. You're scaring me, Jake muttered. I scare myself sometimes, Julian admitted, and headed towards the gate. The next morning, 4 students gathered in the principal's office. Evan, his 2 cronies, and Julian. The charges are serious, the director said, looking at Julian closely. You were seen near the office with confidential files. Someone on the staff reported that the lock was damaged. I didn't go to the door, and I certainly didn't break the locks. Witnesses say the opposite. What witnesses? Anonymous. Julian turned to Evan, who was lounging in his chair, idly twirling a pen in his fingers. What do you say, Turner? Julian asked quietly. Me? Oh no, I'm just a citizen, an observer. I care about safety, and the school's reputation. Or your own? Yours is almost gone, Brooks, and mine is, as always, impeccable. Bye. Be careful, you sound like a threat. No, just as a person who has nothing more to lose. After the interrogation, Julian walked out into the hallway and saw Sienna. What's happened? Evan set me up, made it look like I was hacking something. Proof? Just words. He wants to knock you out of the game. And he doesn't understand that I haven't played it. Until now. And now? And now? Yes. That same evening, he gathered several students in the library. Jake, quiet Amelia from the art club, Marco from the math club, and even 2 freshmen who were simply tired of being afraid. You want a revolution? Amelia asked. This is school, not an Orwell novel. I want to show how their power works, and destroy it from within. No shouting, no fighting, just the truth. Do you have a plan? I have a head, and also eyes and ears. We will observe, record, collect. They do not hide their power. They just do not believe that anyone will dare to document it. And then what? Send everything to the administration? No. By parents, by grant funds, by journalists. You are crazy. Perhaps. But if not us, then no one. I'm with you, said Jake. I've been wanting to break this crystal castle for a long time. Me too, Amelia added quietly. Just without the faces. I don't want to be expelled. No one will see your names, only theirs. For 2 weeks, everything went according to plan. Camera phones recorded Evan conducting small tests on newcomers, teachers looking away, administrators turning a blind eye. They collected dozens of fragments. Do we have enough? Sienna asked. Almost. 1 move left. Julian looked at her. I have to provoke him into something personal. I have to become a mirror he doesn't want to look into. It's dangerous. That's exactly why it will work. At the next student council meeting, Julian raised his hand. I have a proposal, he said. We're listening. The council president replied coldly, nodding toward Evan. I propose to hold an open debate about the role of power in our school, about who makes decisions and how. This is not a council format, Evan snapped, but in the format of democracy, which you all love to talk about. Do you want attention, Brooks? I want you to explain why we are silent, when we should speak. Great. I'll take the challenge, on your terms, one-on-one, on stage. Tomorrow, in the assembly hall, in front of everyone. You don't know what you're getting into. I know. I just don't want to watch you rule by fear anymore. After the meeting, Sienna caught up with him. This is madness. It's true. She won't tell herself. What if he destroys you? Let him try. This time, everything will be recorded, and no one will turn away. Then take the hit. I'm ready, because now, it's not about me anymore. It's about all of us. You don't have to do this, Sienna said, catching up with Julian as they entered the auditorium. You don't have to prove anything to everyone. You already have. It's not about proof, he said, not stopping. It's about light. If something has to fall, let it be in front of everyone. And if he humiliates you on stage, then I'll stand up, and I'll say it again, but louder this time. The room was almost full. Teachers in the back, administrators closer to the stage, students everywhere. In the center were 2 chairs, 2 microphones. Evan was already sitting, legs crossed, in an impeccable jacket, and with that smile that Julian knew by heart. The smile of a hunter who is sure of his prey. Well, philosopher, he said as Julian walked onto the stage, are you ready for a session of self-exposure? I'm ready for a conversation where it's not the masks that speak, but the people. The microphones turned on. The hum died down. Everyone waited. First question, Evan began. What do you think gives you the right to speak on behalf of others? I don't speak on behalf of anyone. I just say what everyone is afraid to say. So you are a hero? I am a witness. But if the truth makes me a hero, so be it. You are trying to destroy what has been built here for years. Why? Because walls built on fear collapse the fastest. Are you accusing us of fear? No, I'm saying that you use it. You in particular. Interesting, Evan chuckled. What do you think about the order, discipline, and success of the school? Success based on silence is not worthy of respect. Discipline, where the strong suppresses the weak, is not order. It is dictatorship. The buzz in the hall grew louder. Several students exchanged glances. You have beautiful words, Evan said. But words won't change reality. I thought you believed in influence, Julian countered calmly. Or is influence just a privilege of the rich? You're playing the victim. I play the truth. Silence. Even the teachers did not intervene. Okay, Evan leaned forward. Tell everyone who you are, where you're from, why you think your past gives you the right to dictate terms here. My past is what makes me honest. I didn't hide behind my last name. I didn't buy respect. I just came and listened. For a long time. And now I'm speaking. Are you scared? Me? He laughed. I'm afraid of only one thing. Boredom. And you're entertaining enough so far. Then continue to have fun. While people are listening to you. Sienna watched from the audience. She had her phone in her hand. She was recording. And Jake was right there, filming too. The whole scene, word by word. No editing, no filter. You're manipulating emotions, Evan said, but no one's going to believe you. Let them decide for themselves. That's why we're here. Then the last question. What do you want? Julian looked into the room, at everyone. So that they wouldn't be afraid. So that everyone would know that silence is no longer a defense. And the truth is not a weapon, but a key. And he lowered the microphone. A hum. Silence. Then applause, timid, then louder, then the whole hall. Evan sat there, alone. His world began to crack. After the performance, Julian was walking down the corridor when the director caught up with him. Mr. Brooks, she said, that was strong, maybe too much. I told the truth. We will consider everything, I promise. I have copies. If not you, there will be others. She nodded silently. Later, Sienna approached him at the school gates. You did it. This is just the beginning. What now? Now they will rush about, panic, hide, and we will stand. You know Evan won't stop? Me too, and he can't handle it. Aren't you afraid? Only one thing, that all this is in vain. But as long as there is applause in the hall, it means no. She looked into his eyes. And if one day you get tired, then I'll remember that I was afraid to speak once. And that was worse. They stood in the shadows while the school hummed. But in those shadows, something new was born. Not revenge, not revolution. Truth. Words spoken at the right time. Words that could never be taken back. Did you hear that? Jake ran into the library, out of breath. He was suspended. Evan? Yes. For the duration of the investigation, the wording was psychological pressure on students. That's the wording, of course, as if he was just talking loudly. Julian chuckled. But it's a start. It's a victory, man. No, Julian answered softly, closing his laptop. Victory is when people stop being afraid of not just Evan, but everyone who behaved like him. There was a strange silence in the academy's corridors, not wary, but rather relieved. Students no longer crossed to the other side when he walked toward them. Some even nodded. Amelia had once come up to him in the cafeteria and left a piece of paper next to his tray. What is this? A drawing. Of you. With a light bulb above your head. Why a light bulb? Because you turned on the light, even if it blinded everyone at first. He smiled. Little things began to change the atmosphere, not loudly, but deeply. During recess, he went out into the backyard where he had once spoken to Sienna for the first time. She was already there, waiting. What's it like to be someone who moved a mountain? Not a mountain, just one big rock, but now the water's flowing. She nodded. You know, I was scared, that you'd burn, that they'd break you. I was scared too, but only until I saw you filming the video. Do you think that changed anything? It changed everything. Because at that moment I realized, I'm not alone. And when you're not alone, fear loses its voice. Later in the hall, his history teacher called out to him, Julian, can I talk to you for a minute? Sure. I wanted to apologize. I saw everything that happened. And I kept quiet. We all kept quiet. But you spoke. I was just tired of counting the days until the end of the year. I wanted to count them until something started. If you ever decide to teach, you know where to find us. Thank you, but for now I'm still a student, only a different one now. There was a school assembly near graduation. Evan was not there. His name had disappeared from the list of prefects. No one had been appointed to replace him. "We won't replace you," the director announced. "We'll listen." Julian sat in the hall, unnoticed, just like before. Only now the silence around him was respectful, not wary. After the meeting, one of the first-year students approached him. "Excuse me, can I ask?" "Of course. And what if one day I also want to, well, do something important, but I'm afraid that they will say to me, 'Who are you?' Then tell them, 'I am the one who is not afraid to be myself.' And that's enough? That's always enough if you don't back down." In the evening, they sat again with Sienna on the steps by the fountain. The sun was slowly sinking behind the school buildings. "Do you think he'll come back?" "Maybe. But not like that, because now, whoever he is, he knows. For every force, there's another voice." "And you? Tired?" "Very. But you didn't show it. Because you were there." She smiled, resting her head on his shoulder. "What next? Live, read, write, remember, and learn not to shut yourself off, because silence is our shield, but it should not be our prison." "You changed this school, Julian." "I just said what had been hanging in the air for a long time. People heard it, and they got louder." She sighed. "I'm sorry this is the end." "It's not the end, Sienna. It's just a scene. The next chapter will be different for everyone, but now we know how to start it." "With what?" "With one word. Just one. Enough." He stood up, extended his hand to her, and they walked away from the school, which was finally quiet again, but not in a frightening way, but calm, because that silence was filled with meaning.